We're going to go ahead and get started. If everybody please rise, Mr. Roy. So our good big flag is down at the Hubbard venue. We got to get it back. If everybody please rise, and Mr. Chaplain, would you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Teresa, have you got those creeds?
In the box.
In the what?
In the box. Yeah.
I've got it on my phone. I'll read it if you want me to.
That'll work.
Hold on. Well, I thought I had it on here. Hold on a second.
You'll do it, Mr. Chaplain?
Yeah.
Okay. You go, Mr. Chaplain.
Here you
I don't get to read that thing. Okay. Mr. Chaplain is going to do
As
the
follows.
Republican Creed.
Republican Creed. I do not choose to be a common man. It is my right to be uncommon. If I can seek opportunity, not security, I want to take the calculated risk to dream and build, to fail and to succeed. I refuse to barter incentive for dole. I prefer the challenges of life to guaranteed security with the thrill of fulfillment to the stale calm of utopia. I will not trade freedom for benevolence, nor my dignity for a handout. I will never cower before any master, save my God. It is my heritage to stand erect, proud and unafraid, to think and act for myself, enjoy the benefit of my creations, to face the whole world boldly and say, I am a free American.
Okay, everybody can be seated. Okay, this time I'm going to ask our guest speaker to come up front to the podium. Sam Densmore is with Senator Graham's campaign, and I'm going to turn it over to you.
Well, thank you, Bruce. Everyone actually stand around the podium. But yeah, my name is Sam Densmore. I'm the state field director for Senator Lindsey Graham's campaign. Just first and foremost, thank you all for letting me come and speak with y'all for a few minutes, give an update on the campaign and just kind of where we're at, what we see across the state. But just for a minute, if you will, go back to 2020 with me. In 2020, we saw the Democrats spend over $200 million trying to flip Senator Graham's seat. What does that tell us? It tells us that they want this state flipped. They don't want it to be a strong red state. They want to turn it into their blue state so they can build momentum for 2028. You know, that's something that's been acknowledged that we see, but don't take my word for it alone. That's why we're honored to have Senator Scott and Governor McMaster co-chairing it. And even further than that, the seal of that we can't have the Democrats in South Carolina is why President Trump gave us his complete and full endorsement. Even more than that, last Wednesday on Senator Graham's 70th birthday, President Trump went to Truth Social, and he went on a long paragraph, and he said that Senator Graham has always been there when he needed him. In the first term, when he confirmed a record number of Trump judges, and in this term, he's continued that standing with President Trump's agenda and pushing it forward. As budget chairman, he was the one who led the charge to get the big, beautiful bill passed. And again, don't take my word on it. President Trump, at that bill signing, named Senator Graham by name and no other senator. He said that he's a good man. And he went on, and that Truth Social post that I mentioned earlier, he goes on to give the same call to action that I'll give each of you tonight. He called on every South Carolinian to do everything to reelect Senator Graham in 2026. Because I guarantee, if we had the worst case scenario, and he does get primary, if he does get primary, the Democrats are going to do $200 million again. No worries. They're going to go again and dump millions and millions and millions of dollars into this state against the candidate who would be not as experienced and not as unbeatable as Senator Graham. So we have to stand there, we have to look at Senator Graham's seniority. We have to look at, oh, what has he done for South Carolinians? We can start with the big, beautiful bill. In South Carolina alone, it doubled the child tax credit from $1,000 to $2,000. It made the 20% small business tax deduction permanent. It made the death exemption tax, doubled the death exemption tax, which is going to make it easier for farmers all across the state and small businesses all across the state to pass it from generation to generation. Those are real things that Senator Graham has led the charge to serve South Carolinians and Americans all across the country. And more than that, we can look at the PD, the water treatment plant. Senator Graham was the one who secured the $5 million to keep the renovations and to continue growing it and to let it be what it is today, which creates so many jobs. He's worked tirelessly to keep our military installations open. Him and Congresswoman Mace a few months back, they even did a bill to help Parris Island to remain getting the same level of funding, which creates tens of thousands of jobs for South Carolina. And then I was down in Horry County last night, and I have to say, I'm sorry I don't have any literature. I have a big problem that Horry County last night took everything I had and more. So I haven't had a chance to go back and get more. But anyway, sorry, for Horry County, he made it clear that, yes, we want to be energy independent across this nation, but we don't need oil rigs off our coast. We're a tourism state. We draw that. We do not need oil rigs sitting on the coast to just inevitably spill, to inevitably block our beautiful coastline. And Senator Graham, even more than that, he has spent his time, especially this year and in the past, but in this year alone, highlighting real good things. So we're glad to have the endorsements also of the pro-life groups, the Susan B. Anthony organization, Citizens Right for Life, and I think it's Right for Life SC as well. And we did an event in Spartanburg at the Child Pregnancy Center that Alexia Newman, and she runs up there. And it's a wonderful thing because we felt the need to highlight it. Senator Graham said, there's something good happening here. We have to highlight it. We have to show this pro-life organization fighting so hard to help young women have the children and not choose other alternatives that we do not agree with. And then we went to Hartsville, the first sitting senator to do a public event in Hartsville, and I think it was more than 50 years, what I heard. Strom went. He went and met with county council, but that was it. Senator Graham went there to the Child and Family Resource Clinic that Tracy Redford runs in Hartsville to make the statement also that pro-life doesn't end at birth, it continues on, and we have to highlight these good organizations that are helping children in some of the hardest situations that you'll ever hear. And Senator Graham doing that, coming to Hartsville, and we're going to be in August, Senator Graham's going to be in the PD. Senator Graham is showing that the PD's here. It's a voice. I come from Florence. I know how much we've been forgotten at times. I know that we are a sleeping giant, and we have grown, and we have so much more industry. We have so many more people, and it's such an attractive place to move to. And Senator Graham is going to work tirelessly to highlight those places so they can continue to grow and work their mission to help South Carolinians too. But thank you all just for having me. And if you have any questions, please come back to the back after we're done with everything. I'd love to spend time meeting each one of you. I'll stay as long as we need. But just thank y'all very much. And yeah, I'll be in the back.
Thank you. Y'all excuse me, that was the state Republican chairman that wanted Drew McKissick, and he wanted to give us just another. We have a big banquet coming up on August the 9th. It's the one we do once a year, and he just reached out for me to try, and he knew I had a meeting tonight, and he wanted me to try and announce it to me. But we have what's called a Silver Elephant. It's a club. It starts off at $20 a month, and it's a members-only banquet. And the speaker is going to be Glenn Youngkin, the governor of Virginia. He was one of our guests when I was at the national convention for breakfast one morning. That guy he might could stand in this room. I'm not sure. The guy is really tall, but he's just a great speaker and stuff. But Drew was just wanting me to announce tonight. If you look online at Second Line GFP, it starts off at the $20 level and it goes on up to the different levels, you know, silver, gold, platinum, and everything. But we've got about 1,500 members or so in South Carolina, and your membership, even at the lower levels, you go to that banquet, you get your money back almost in it, because they have great speakers, great food, and all that. But Sam, you got them covered?
Yes, sir. And,
I want to follow up.
And I know Bird will say it much better. He can always talk. He has endless stories about constituent service issues that Senator Graham has covered, and he has a lot more history knowing about all of his mistakes. So I'll give him deference on which stories.
Okay. But I do want to say a few words about Senator Graham, since I was on his grassroots team in 2020, and a lot of hunters in here. I know me and Gerald, probably some other ones. But, you know, Senator Graham is probably one of the strongest Second Amendment people in Washington there is. In 2020, we had we had a meet and greet at Myrtle Beach at the Brazilian Grill. There was 350 people in attendance of that event. Senator Graham came in, and I sat at the table with him right in front of him, and he just said, well, I want to say a few words before we get started. And he stepped up to the table, no podium, no microphone, and he said, how many people in here own guns? All 350 people raised their hand and said, how many people in here own AR-15? About 250, maybe 275 of them said, I do. He said, count me in. He said, you know why I own an AR-15? Because the law says I can own it. He said, down here at the beach, y'all had these little storms that come through in the fall and stuff, and he said, I never will forget what he said. He said, the scandals and the hoodlums, they can't be they're all over the place, and they know that the policemen can't be everywhere. So he said, but you know whose house they come to last? My house, because I own an AR-15. I've needed Senator Graham twice in the past 4 years on 2 ATF overreach issues, on the pistol brace and also on the bump stock. And he told me he would take care of it. And within 10 days to 2 weeks, both of them, I got letters from him to where he had stepped in on ATFs, because ATF's got a bad problem. You would think ATF, they would be for guns. They're against guns. The guy that they were going to put in there, if we had to raise so much cane a few years ago to get that guy taken off the list, because he worked for ATF for 27 years, they were going to put him up as the head of it, and he hated people with guns and stuff. But Senator Elliott, and I just want to follow up with Sam, Senator Elliott is right out one of the most pro-Second Amendment people we have in Washington. And I assume Sam talked about constituent service.
I briefly touched on it.
For the last 20 years, Senator Graham, since Strom Thurmond left Washington, Senator Graham is known for having the best constituent service in Washington. There's a reason why he gets 63% of the vote in 2020 and why he got 63% of the vote in 2012. Constituent service. He had 6 or 8 people in one primary. He had 5 or 6 in the last primary. They spent and he wound up getting 63% of the vote. Yes, he don't make every vote that you like. I've been in politics a long time. Been elected like 12 times. Been elected in 12 elections, and I don't make every vote that everybody likes, but I try and do what's the best for the whole. And Senator Graham does that. Right? But as far as needing help, a lady called me. I'm gonna keep this brief. A lady called me last summer on a Monday. Said, Bird, my daughter's getting married Saturday. They're going to Europe, and her boyfriend, fiance, they put in for the passport at the same time, and my daughter's had hers for 3 weeks, and he still hasn't got his. Is there anything you can do about it? I called Senator Graham's office in Washington. I talked to the lady. She said, Bird, get that guy to call me and direct. I'm going to give my direct number. Call me, and I'll see if I can't get the bottom of it. He called her, gave her all the information. Express Mail delivered his passport on Thursday, 2 days before the wedding. So see, he gets things done, and that's the reason people vote for him. You know? And yeah, you'll hear the people that are crying over, well, I don't like this vote he did and all that, and I'm not going to vote for him and stuff. But for every one of them, there's at least 20 families across this state that Senator Graham has helped with VA benefits, with Social Security, with disability, passport. Passports is a big issue. I mean, if you're going on a trip and you got to have your passport, you can't mess around the last minute and you hadn't got it. You know, you need somebody to help. You know, Senator Graham will do it. All right. And like I said, if you look at the agenda, I've got a couple things just to discuss. Anybody is welcome to raise your hand, chime in anytime you want to hear anything. It's going to be very brief. First thing I got on there is the school board, and as y'all well know, for 2 months, well, the 19th of this month, 2 months we've been battling with the school board in Marlboro County. Grassroots people, politicians, Jackie Hayes, our House member for District 55, who represents me and Gerald, all of Clyde, he has been heavily involved in every discussion, trying to do everything he could, working with Ellen Weaver, our state superintendent of education, to stop this craziness that they were trying to do. 38 years ago, they had 3 referendums over a period of 3 years to consolidate all the high schools. We had 5 great high schools in Marlboro County, great high schools. They decided they wanted to consolidate. It took them 3 years and 3 consolidation votes to finally pass it. 1990, the Marlboro County Consolidated High School opened. It was a disaster then, and 35 years later, it is still a disaster, you know. And then what they wanted to do on May the 19th, was a Monday night, Taylor and them threw this on the board. Nobody had even heard it, even had a hint of what they were doing. She said that we're going to consolidate all. First, she said we're $6.8 billion in the deficit on our budget, and we've got to try and save money. We're going to close Clyde School, almost a brand new school that they just got. They're going to close BIS, Billsville Intermediate in Billsville. We owe we owe $5 million still on that school, on a bond that if you look on your taxes and stuff, when you see school bond, that's these buildings that we're paying for the schools. They owe $5 million on the school. They just got through spending about $200,000 in the last couple of years building a brand new stainless steel cafeteria and a brand new auditorium, and they're going to close the school. You know why? Taylor wants to make it an office building. It's the nicest building in town. She wants to make it an office building. So anyway, we've been battling to with them every meeting. I spoke 3 times. I've written about 30 articles. I've been on TV a couple of times, and it wasn't me. It's David Lockler in McCall. It's Chastity Rummage down in Blenheim. We've all went over there and spoke. So not these, the veterinarian and stuff. Has been heavily behind it. But anyway, it's taken a grassroots group of people to come together to stop this thing. And yesterday, as y'all well know, last night at the school board meeting, Taylor, to her unfortunate demise, and Chairman Coachman, they had announced that Ellen Weaver had put a stop to all consolidation in Marlboro County, and that and Jackie I called Jackie a few minutes to get the update. And this Friday at 8:30, the South Carolina Department of Education is going to meet. Ellen has made a proposal. She's taken over all the finances of Marlboro County operation. She's also requested that Brian Lampkin, the Inspector General, investigate all the Marlboro County finances and everything. So, but the State Board of Education, the board has to vote on it. So they're going to meet at 8:30 Friday morning, and I can tell you right now, it's a done deal. They're going to vote. But the big thing, and I know some of y'all got teachers that are friends, and as a matter of fact, Julie Kimmery from Wallace called me a minute ago. They don't know a thing. They don't know what school they're going to be teaching at and everything, because the board won't even return their phone calls. Well, even after yesterday, they should have told those teachers, well, y'all going to be where you have been. We're not going to consolidate. So, but some of these teachers have gone out on their own and bought boxes and stuff, and boxed up their stuff and moved from Clio, because they thought it was going to close, moved it to another school. And looks like they're going to have to move it back. And Julie said, we do that at our own expense. They don't pay us anything for buying these boxes and stuff. That's the reason I think a girl from Wallace works for a box company. She put on Facebook this weekend, anybody needs boxes, our company's to donate free boxes to any school teachers that want to move their stuff, you know. But anyway, that's the update. That is as of a minute. Jackie Hayes a few minutes ago. They will meet Friday morning at 8:30. They will pass these 2 resolutions that Ellen's got. And then shortly after that, they're going to have to come up, definitely school's going to have to be put on to sometime in August. It's supposed to start week after next. So we'll just wait and see, and I'll keep everybody informed through Facebook about what's happening. But the ones that are really hurting right now is the children and the teachers. Don't have a clue where they're going to be at. Does anybody have any questions or anything about said about school?
What can we as citizens do to get rid of Dr. Tiller?
Exactly.
Pay her off again.
What can we do?
I hope the Inspector General does that for us. I mean, y'all have seen all the waste
The
and
woman's a
abuse.
proven liar.
Yeah,
She's a thief
y'all have
too.
seen all the waste and abuse, all these, things on Facebook and stuff. But you know, you hit it dead on the nail. Taylor's a bald-faced liar. You know, I was at the meeting last week, I spoke, and she was desperate to get that budget passed, thinking it was gonna hold off the wolves. And she really, somebody asked me the day after the meeting, said, "Bird, you said she knew what was coming Thursday?" I said, "She didn't have a clue what was coming. I know that for a fact." She was so cocky. She got on me, she got on Nikki, she got on the individual citizen. Well, I'm a two, but I'm elected official, but she got on the individual citizen. We're blasting them and stuff like that. She was so cocky in that meeting that night, but she just knew if she could get that $42 million budget passed, the wolves would get on. Well, the wolves left them on stage. So what happened was, and just to show you how crooked they are, I watched them. I watched that film 12 times after the school board meeting. And she did this number here with the finance guy. She did it with her secretary. That, you know, y'all ought to get in that fight for that secretary's job. She makes over $100,000 a year as the secretary for the superintendent. But anyway, she got the finance guy to come up there and talk to her. And this is during the meeting now. And then they were steady texting. The finance guy, her secretary, Taylor, nobody had a phone down there. They were steady texting, trying to do this plan. Well, this girl in a big red dress, I'll start to call her, that's her secretary, Lakeisha. She goes up there and she does this number all out in front of the crowd with a phone. And she bends down like this here, and she says, and then Taylor's looking at it, pointing at it, and then she's doing this here, and then she goes back and sits down, and immediately Taylor's like this here, trying to get recognized by the chairman. And finally, Coachman turns around and says, "Dr. Taylor, you something have?" And she said, "Yes, I've got to tell y'all this. I have just got an email from the South Carolina Board of Education. They have just passed their budget, and we have got to pass this budget tonight. The school teachers are not going to get their money. The school teachers got their money on July the 1st. That money came from Governor Henry McMaster in Columbia. He approved it on June the 2nd, I think was the day.
Yeah.
But the school teachers were always going to get. She was trying to scare everybody. What did she do? I won't say she scared them. They put just enough of doubt in Angela's mind, the new girl on the council. And I'm not knocking, because she's been to our Republican meeting. Y'all remember Angela Galloway, very smart girl, and she said, "Well, you know, I don't want school teachers to not get their raise and stuff." So then they called for a revote, because the first vote was 4-4-1, the budget was done. So they called for a revote, and Angela and, of course, Danny Driggers voted for it, and it was 6-3. So it passed, and boy, they were just on cloud nine. But anyway, when the meeting was over with, I made a post about how sad I was for the children, the parents, the teachers, and the taxpayers of this county for what they had done. Because I saw how sneaky. The school board passed their budget in May, and she was trying to make, if you know anything about the board, Nikki Pruitt is probably the best school board member this county has ever had. She's been on there 3 years. She said, "Dr. Pruitt, the school board, the South Carolina Department of Education, they passed their budget on May 20th. Miss Pruitt, I'm looking at it on my phone right now. I just got this from Columbia. There's a bald-faced daggone lie." But anyway, so at the end of it, when I made, and y'all know, if you all follow Facebook on it, that thing made me so mad. I was saying it started off with, but then I got mad when I knew how when I watched that video, that's when I knew what they had done. I said, well, I'm going to do everything in my power to use every bit of clout I got in Columbia to get the Inspector General to come in and investigate the Marble County Hospital. I hadn't talked, I mean, I know who the Inspector General was, but I had not done anything. But I put that seed in their ear, because I all along I said we needed to get an outside auditor to come in and investigate this stuff. Well, 12 hours later, Dr. Taylor and Chairman, they get a letter saying that Ellen Weaver has taken over the financial operation of the Marlboro County School and requested the Inspector General to come in and investigate all the McCall. So it sort of looked like I must have knew what was going on. But I'll be honest with everybody. I told Tom Grant, don't read into this stuff you see on Facebook. Yeah, I put it on there, but don't. It's taking a group of grassroots citizens, just like the group that's sitting in here tonight, to get stuff done. And you look at what we're doing. Brooke, Steve, all y'all that's Mr. Scott, all y'all's been around here, Billy, everybody in here. This thing should have been done 20 years ago. For 20 years, there's been corruption at the state, at the Marble County school system. You know, tremendous abuse, tremendous waste of material. because we've all been signing a check for 20 years, giving them 70 cents out of every dollar to run that school system. I mean, they're doing crazy stuff, you know. A few years ago, they paid a $300,000 or $400,000 curriculum program in Las Vegas on one of these junkets they went to, where they stayed in rooms for like $1,400-1,500 a night. You know what they done with that thing? It's still sitting in a darn vacant building over in Densmore. They never did even use it. A $400,000 program that they, and I talked to a big educator there. He said, "Bert, those programs are high." Yeah, I said, "Yeah, we got one in Marble County. They never did use it." And he said, "I bet it cost several hundred thousand." I said, "It did." You know? But anyway, that's all I'm gonna say about that. We'll know something Friday morning, and then hopefully maybe through the weekend the teachers will finally know that the start date. Hopefully it's gonna be August 15th, August 18th for school to start back. The last thing I want to talk about is the governor's race. And last night, no question, I was with the lieutenant governor in Greenville. I announced her coming on the stage and stuff. Been a friend of mine for 7 years. She has been lieutenant governor for the last 7 years. But she came into this thing in 2018. She started a startup company, her and her husband, 20 years ago. In 2018, Pamela Evans' sales was $1.8 billion. She's been the businesswoman of the year, just tremendous doggone. She's an accountant by trade, and she came up with a novel idea to take her accounting skills, group of people together, and go in like Domtar, and they'll do our workman's comp, our disabilities, all our insurance stuff. She'll do what they call the backside of industry, and then all Bert Odom's got to do is make paper, you know, and the company does. So she did what they call the backside of industry, and so she was operating in 48 states in 2018. She had took a company that she started in her office at her house and grew it into a national company. It, like I said, sales in 2018 was $1.8 billion. So we've done pretty good in the United States with a businessman in the White House twice, and it's going to be great to have a businesswoman in the State House when we elect Pamela Evans next year. People put things on there about, well, Bert, what does she accomplish? The lieutenant governor serves basically. See, now she runs with the governor. Used to, the lieutenant governor would run by herself if they didn't get elected. You might have a Democrat lieutenant governor and a Republican governor. Well, they changed that thing a few years ago. So now the lieutenant governor runs with the governor. So in 2017, he approached Pam Evans about running with him. So what she does, she supports the governor. She supports his initiatives. And the 4 big initiatives that Governor Masters done in the last 4 years, and I've worked on all of them, was the heartbeat bill, the open carry with training, the constitutional carry, and then the election integrity bill. And of course, y'all know I spoke to y'all many times about the election integrity bill. I mean, we set two people down in Marlboro County last November, Pat Hennigan and Gerald Malloy, because of the election integrity bill. The 5,000 absentee ballots they had been getting for the last 100 years, they went to 400. Pat Hennigan did not run because she knew that she couldn't get elected. And people are still calling me across the state, how in the world did Marlboro County beat Gerald Malloy? He had been there 22 years. Jimmy Richardson's the solicitor, and Jimmy's been involved with the solicitors down in Norway County. And he called me a few weeks ago and said, Bert, how did y'all get rid of Gerald Malloy? We didn't think he could be beat. I said, it took a lot of grassroots things, and it took the election integrity bill. But anyway, the governor's race is going to heat up. Right now, after last night, and I'm not being prejudiced because Pam is a great friend of mine, but she's got to be the front runner. I mean, we had 400 people, and that was the most energized crowd of people I've ever seen. Alan Wilson, I walked in the council meeting 10 minutes to 6 last Tuesday night. Phone rings, it says private. Usually when it says private, that's Senator Williams, Senator Kent Williams. Senator Kent Williams lives in Marion. He used to represent Parma. He still calls me almost every week to talk to me and says, is there anything we need? Kent Williams signed off on that $25.3 million that Lake Powell Wallace got. And Marlboro County, I told y'all this last month before, Marlboro County was the only county in the state. Marlboro County was the only county in the state that got money this year from the legislature. And Marlboro County got the whole $25.3 million to rebuild the Lake Powell Wallace Dam. But anyway, it was private, so I answered it, and it was Alan Wilson. He said, Bert, and I said, yeah. I told him, he said, this is Attorney General Wilson. I just wanted to reach out to you and let you know. I know you for Pam and all that, but if things don't go your way, I sure would appreciate your support, you know. But he's a great guy, great family, and I think Steve knows this. They're kin to the Drake family, Julian Drake. As a matter of fact, Joe Wilson, Congressman Joe Wilson, 2nd District, he told me when I was in Washington that he named his great-grandson Drake after Mr. Julian Drake, you know. But anyway, we've got a lot of stuff going on. You know, our next meeting will be, let's see, calendar. The third Tuesday will be the 18th of August. If anybody's got any ideas, Ms. Howard, you have a lot of expertise in some of this. She came from Florida and from, I'm sure, a big club. But anything that her son here, he's a great IT guy. I guess that would be the right term. he knows a lot of this stuff. But anyway, y'all want to get together and let's talk and maybe try and have a cookout or something in August. You know, something before we go into the fall. The next elections will be next June, and of course, after yesterday, it's going to be every day and every night. There's going to be stuff about this governor's race. You know, maybe the most expensive governor's race in history.
We do have the Clio, the Bennettsville elections coming up.
I'm not sure what Bennettsville's got.
We have 3 seats coming open.
3 council seats.
Yes, and then the Clio has a couple coming up. I'm sure you know somebody that we can try to get behind.
Right.
And
yeah, and I did talk to a couple people yesterday. What we've done over these last 2 months, we need to pull these group of people back together and other people. But the people like Chastity Rummage and me, little David Locklear and McCall, Dr. Eads and stuff, we got people that jumped out there in private life and said, we're not going to let them do it. And they've been to all these meetings and wrote all these things. We need to get this group of people to form something, and I just, off the wall, I said, Citizens for Progress. And involve ourselves in everything. But believe me, we took down probably the biggest problem in Marlboro County for the last 25 or 30 years when we got the state to come in and take over the school system now. And but you know, like you said, it can be in the city council races, school board races. That's where it's going to come at. When these school board members run next year, there's about 3 or 4 of them got to run. We need to have somebody running. And of course, they run nonpartisan, so you don't really know what they are. You know, the state Republican Party, we passed a referendum, and it passed a couple of years ago, said if you're going to run for the school board, you need to declare a party. Because, you know, you get a guy out there, John James, he may sound like a decent guy, and come to find out he's liberal, you know. Liberal doesn't work in South Carolina. It doesn't work hardly anywhere. But, you know, but that's neither here nor there. It won't happen in the next election. But they do run as nonpartisan. So you really have to know the person. What is their views? Are they conservative? Do they consider the almighty dollar is very sacred to the taxpayers and stuff, you know? Because literally they spend about 69 cents out of every dollar y'all give them, you know? And but anyway, the whole situation gonna change now to Ellen. There's one thing about Ellen Weaver and them taking over. They ain't gonna be mismanaging the money. Does anybody have any questions or anything they'd like to say?
I got a question.
Yeah.
So you mentioned earlier about the shortfall in the budget.
Yeah.
I think it was 6.3 million.
Is it what?
You said it was like 6.3 million.
6.8.
6.8. And where did we come up with the money for that shortfall?
Well, the way they came up with it was last Tuesday night when
Right.
they had their vote. They closed Clio, they closed BIS,
Right.
and they went into what they call the fund balance, which is a
Emergency fund for the
it's a rainy day fund. They're supposed to have like 3 months or 6 months of money to run the school system if something was to happen. Same way with the county council. We have to have like 6 months of fund balance to where if we would have a major disaster, we could still operate the county. They're going in that fund balance and how much drain they need to come up with the money.
So what's the plan to replenish?
Now, granted, in the thing they passed, they said zero millage increase from the school board. So they're not going up any mills on the increase for this budget they passed. But like the guy, one of the council members, one of the board members, I walked up and shook his hand. He shook my hand, and I wouldn't shake his hand. He said, "Man, Bert," I said, "Why didn't you stay with Nicky then and vote this thing down again?" You know? And he said, "Well, Bert, I think we got what we wanted. We got a zero increasing the millage. I said, I ain't gonna call his name. I said, we don't give a crap about this millage increase. Look at all these kids that y'all are disrupting their lives 2 weeks before school starts. And look at all the parents. Nikki Pruitt, she said she's gonna have to quit her job in Scotland County School. She's gonna have to go to 3 different schools before 7:15 in the morning to get her 3 kids to school. She said, Bert, I can't keep my job like that. I can't get my kids to school and be at work at 7:15. This thing was not only gonna disrupt the kids, it was gonna disrupt parents to where you had a school board member said she's going to quit her job, you know. But anyway, we've dodged the bullet, and I do think that we all need to, like Ms. Hire said, we need to be running somebody in every race, you know. I will caution this though, and the guy that I just talked to, Drew McKissick, and talking about the Silver Elephant Banquet, he tells me all the time, don't run anybody in a race where they're gonna get their brains beat out. Because what you do then, if you ever do that, and say it gets out, well, the Marble County Republican Party, they ran this guy, and he didn't give 10% of the vote. Well, they must pick candidates pretty poor then. So you want to run in races that you have a competitive chance to win. You know. Anybody else got anything? Everybody should
I
we
would
adjourn?
like to just suggest that those that are friends with Dr. Eads on Facebook, to go to Terry Eads' page, and where he says how to file complaints against the school board members, to try to get the attorney general and stuff to come in and investigate them, that you got to file like a city.
The school board, I mean, if there's corruption, and I don't like some of the people on there, but I don't know if they're corrupt. The school board members are elected by the public. Ellen Weaver cannot remove the school board. They're elected officials and stuff.
But what he was saying is you file it with the city police, and then the police have to follow up with an investigation of that person.
Right,
That's
if they break the law and knowingly break the law
If
or
they have
something.
concrete evidence.
Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta have, in a court of law, you gotta have concrete evidence. You can't hearsay and somebody's
They ought to be able
opinion.
to find some of Ellen Weaver's coming.
Sam's got one other thing.
Oh, yeah, I forgot to mention it. If you do want to get involved, please feel free to sign up. We'll have, like, if you just want yard signs when it comes, if you'd be interested in phone banking or door knocking, we have endless ways to get involved, and we need the strength. We have the mandate, supermajority. Let's not mess it up. Thanks,
Anyway, anybody got anything else? Appreciate everybody coming, and like I said, the next meeting is, what was that, August 18th. All right.
Thank you, Bert.
Appreciate y'all.
Pleasure, brother.
August 9th.
I'm not sure.
Tuesday.
Okay, not
I fixed myself up for nobody else right now. Yeah, sure do.
And then when I was sitting over there, I saw the
I think they will do that.
they were all right. But I hadn't seen them in a long time.
Well, we just moved back a couple of years ago. My brother has manipulated her so bad. I tried to protect her, and it would cut ties, I like him too good to be dealing with her. He got mixed up in some bad stuff. This is where I'll stand. She got me to me because I don't deal with from other places.
See about all things. I've never seen anything.
He has got so much reading. I want to get some younger we're trying to get younger
What they
like Charles. Okay, and it's clean line.
My nephew is retarded in Charles. He does the same
And everybody thinks he's way too conservative. I like it. Like yes, exactly what it is.
This movement here that we've done, we should make it people do.
A lot of information out there, they can't share. Whether it's good or bad, you gotta have something.
the way I see
This was stagnating. We can't Good to see you. Oh, no. I couldn't worry with I don't deal with it. I handle nothing. I got drunk.
yes, I'll should look at TV.
For the last 20 years, my life has so well. I don't have my health drastically improved. I feel better.
And tell him if he doesn't get me, leave a message, and I do listen to him.
For a long time, I didn't realize what's going on.
I'll let them know. We'll see you later.
glad y'all came. We enjoyed it. I hope y'all come back.
What